With us, we have David Perry with AboutTime Technologies, and he's going to be talking about mitigating risk through mobile resource management. Before we get started on this, I'd like to cover a couple of housekeeping items. Everybody's muted, but I want to make sure that you can hear me. So if you can you click the button on the right side of your, in the control panel on the right side, just kind of raise your hand so I can see that, okay, great. You guys can hear me, perfect. So as we go through this information today, it's educational content, and there's a little bit of product content in it. But if you do have any questions, please jot them down, and at the end of the session, we'll go and get those answered as time allows. So real quick, I know most of you guys already know who Alliance Solutions Group is, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you just a little bit because we have picked up a couple new things. We consist of about 50 employees and contracted consultants, and we focus on helping construction companies and real estate businesses with technology. That's our main focus. Most of our clients are in the green states that you can see on there, but we also do have clients in serve areas in Puerto Rico, the Caribbean islands, and we actually even have a couple of clients in Central America. We're a full-service authorized Sage business partner. And as you can see, most of the solutions that we represent are developed and supported by Sage. Other solutions we work with are takeoff solutions, on-screen takeoff, and PlanSwift, Builder MT. That's a home builder suite. Sage HRMS is a centralized human resources database solution for organizations that have a lot of employees, pretty much 100 employees or more. And AboutTime, that's a mobile resource management system that integrates with Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate, and I believe Sage 100 Contractor, and David can correct me if that's incorrect.
That's correct.
Perfect. We also work closely with a custom software development group called ASG Services. They do custom applications for Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate users. And one of the last products is called ASG Easy Cloud, and it's an application hosting service designed for Sage 100 Contractor and Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate users, and it's great if you have an older server and you don't want to invest a large amount of money in replacing it. Anyway, in addition to representing these solutions, we also provide implementation, training, and migration services on the majority of them. So what I'm going to do is turn it over to David here, and he can get started and let us know how you guys can mitigate risk through mobile resource management.
Fantastic. One of my favorite subjects. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Yeah, it is one of my favorite topics, and I watched, I used to be a framer, and I worked in my uncle's business and out here in California where I'm stationed. And back in the 80s, as California was expanding, we were watching basically home building spread through the desert. They're pumping water up there and trying to turn it into a paradise and naming, the desert places like Palmdale, exciting, beautiful names. But they were still basically the desert. But I watched my uncle Phil, watched him just being, faced and eaten alive by all of the compliance and whatnot that was being introduced in California throughout the 80s. Through the Department of Labor and just all the compliance was strangling him basically, and he had always run his business on paper, and there was no employees clocking in or actually agreeing to their time worked or having an actual start and stop time. He didn't know how to face workers' comp and litigation, and it basically ate him alive. He's still in business, thankfully, knock on wood, but he runs a very, very small business now. Because the risk is just so big. But a lot of you out there are running rather large businesses or small businesses, but you're all facing the same problem. So again, one of my favorite subjects. So let's go ahead and jump into it. And basically, it's no secret. I mean, if you're in a contractor, this is a very, very risky business. Just as Tom Cruise danced around the house many years ago, you're doing things that are far more risky than that movie really did, or things that happened in that movie. So if you're a contractor, you're really a risk manager, and that's the difference between profit and loss, is how you manage that, how you come out on the other side. So that's what we'll be looking at today. And And something that we found just recently, a study that was introduced a year before last through McGraw-Hill, one of the most respected, in our industry, publications and organizations. They did a very interesting survey with many companies. It was a 56-page report actually that came out, and its findings were really interesting. And I don't want to dig too much into findings. I mean, I think people out there, again, if you're a contractor, you know the risks. So we won't spend too much time on this. We'll more look at ways that you can, mitigate that risk and help to protect yourselves. But this was a really interesting study and survey. So biggest construction risk. So they asked open-ended questions about those greatest risks to a successful project, and the answers were really interesting. And the top ones were, as most people know, the design or project changes and scope creep, changes to the original contract and whatnot. Budget and cost overruns due to so many different factors, labor, materials, weather, poor management, whatever it might be. The process approvals, which are really tough when you have, a lot of, a GC and many subs on site, and, running all these things appropriately and getting approvals done is obviously very cumbersome. Safety, including, workers' comp, claims, and so on and so forth, really tough to manage and protect yourself against. And of course, site conditions. So what was really interesting is that, as you can see here, delayed completion, over budget, and disputes and claims, they range from 76 up to 86% of people surveyed. These things were impacting their projects. Very telling. And what was amazing about it is you can read here, these responses demonstrate that the industry perceives its own processes, procedures, and relationships as the greatest risk to a project, rather than things like the economy or labor markets. And what other industry do you see this in? I don't know of any other. I can see the economy and labor markets, of course, but in construction, the positive implications of this result is that the industry has the ability to control its risk itself. So very eye-opening as I read through this 56-page study. I didn't read every single word, but I found it very eye-opening. And that brings me to this point. I don't know if these look familiar to you, or maybe early on in your business they look like this, but these are actual timesheets that one of our founders, we were founded by four men, 2 software engineers and 2 contractors. And our CEO, Ryan Remkus, these are actual timesheets from probably 11, 12, 13 years ago when he was running his own business out in Utah. And maybe your timesheets look a little bit better. Maybe they're on Excel or something of that sort, or maybe they're on nice, clean, timesheets that you've created. But if the totals over here, or whether they're on that handwritten timesheet or the Excel, they're probably pretty much the same, and you are exposed to risk without a doubt between that, budget, scope creep, everything that you saw there in that survey. But what's interesting is with these timesheets is his wife just recently, Ryan's wife, was cleaning out some old files and found this and sent them over to Ryan at the office, and he sent it out to the entire company. And the title or subject of the email was "Why We Created AboutTime," and this right here is why we created AboutTime. Risk. So managing that risk, there's a lot of different ways that we do this, and AboutTime has been a very customer-driven product and company. So you'll see ways that risk can be minimized greatly and also documented properly, which is really a big part of it. But then also getting this data in real time. If you're looking at photos that are, after the project's already closed and you finally got them off from, your project manager's or superintendent or foreman's phone or SD card, or if, forms are being filled out, by hand and then filed away somewhere where they can't be found, or data's coming in and you're getting reports that are 2 weeks old, that's not managing things in real time, of course. That's looking at things through a rearview mirror, and maybe a pillar of smoke is in the background that you can't do anything about. So some of the ways that risk can be greatly reduced and managed, job site photos, that's a major one. Just recently, one of our customers out in Texas, a roofing contractor, told me a story about when they do a lot of warranty work, of course, being in the roofing industry, and a customer had a a complaint that an area that they had fixed on the roof was leaking, and this company, our customer, was able to go back to, even though it was a job that had been closed out, they were able to go find the forms that were associated with that job, all the time that was worked on that job, the GPS coordinates of exactly where that was performed, and all the job site photos documenting exactly before and after, and even progress in between. So they were able to reference all this data, bring it to the customer, and rather than doing work for free, they were able to show that that leak was a good 150 feet away from where the original work was performed, and therefore they had new work. That's just one instance, one example. There are just countless with job site photos and protecting yourselves by documenting everything. But the key is to have it so that it is simple to do, it's quick to do, and you're not having to go back to some SD card or looking at a directory where you're trying to file these things and trying to document where they were taken, who took them, when they were taken, what they were taken of. So to do it simply and quickly is extremely important, but then also being able to go back and reference that and find it and have it applied to that job, date and time stamped, no doubt where it was taken and what was taken. Also getting real-time progress, text and audio notes to document everything going on, whether you're recording it with the voice, explaining what you're seeing on the job site, or typing it in, having everything, again, date and time stamped, applied to that project, and easy to retrieve down the line if you ever do need it. Hopefully you won't. But also with employee feedback questions, protecting yourselves against litigation and compliance, unions breathing down your neck, the Department of Labor breathing down your neck. Okay, I don't believe all your workers took their breaks. You got one guy complaining, and he's come to the Department of Labor and said that they didn't give me my lunches. They made me work through lunch. Well, if your employees are agreeing at the end of every day when they clock out that they took all their breaks, and that they were not hurt on the job site, things of that nature, can really help to protect you down the line. And that brings me to the feedback questions. These can be customized, and upon clock out, ask them whatever you want in whatever language you want. Did you get hurt on the job today? Did you take all your required breaks? So incredibly important to be able to report on that if you do have an issue. If it's on a timesheet somewhere buried in a banker's box up in your rafters and you've got to go find it, it could be really tough, and that's the things that we hear quite often. Also with budgeting, again, if you're looking at reports that are 2 weeks old, how can you fix a problem that's occurred 2 weeks ago? There's no way to do it, or even further back. We often hear up to 3 to 4 weeks before a budget issue is known. And this could just be the estimator saying it takes 500 hours to complete this forming, and they think it should take this long, and if it goes over, well, gosh, 2 weeks later, what does that really matter? It's ancient history. So what we'll do is pull in the budgets for estimated time and units to be completed, and as that time accrues and it sinks into the office, it impacts that budget, kicks that out to the field. So even on like an iPhone here, they can see the original budgeted amounts, the original accrued, what they're completing per hour, what the percentage of completion is, what's remaining, what's your variance, your over and under, all on a mobile device, as well as project managers receiving automated scheduled reports for their budgets every morning, the next day, or even that evening, depending on your approval process and how fast you can approve the data. But you can see that in virtual real time. Very eye-opening, along with dashboards as well that we'll take a look at. But again, getting that data quickly truly is the key to minimizing your risk. Another huge thing that we hear about all the time, even many of our drywall contractors using the system, having materials delivered, or if they're doing plastering and moisture, too much moisture in the air, or too cold, or whatever it might be, weather greatly impacts job sites, especially for people doing work outdoors, whether you're painting or roofing or heavy highway, whatever it might be. If you can retrieve historical weather when there's a complaint that's tracked all throughout the day, every day, on that job site, exactly pinpointing where that job site is. Because right here, where I'm at in Simi Valley, it could be nice weather, but 7 miles away on the other side of Simi, it's raining sometimes. Well, we rarely get rain in California, but when we do, it's pretty exciting, and it leads the news. But anyway, I might not know it's raining down there. So to accurately pinpoint the weather and track it throughout the day, and then also create alerts. Say at the Cordova, or actually the Eastern Nevada Realty job, wind speeds at 30 miles an hour. If I have a crane up and OSHA requirements say that that crane should have come down 5 miles per hour ago, and there's a problem or something happens, boy, my risk goes through the roof, and it's my rear end that's on the line. So we can send out an alert when that wind speed kicks up, and so that that foreman knows, take that crane down. So not just historically capturing and documenting the weather, but also alerting when weather is impacting your job sites is just huge. So you can automatically document job site weather conditions through us polling and storing that weather, which feeds into reports as well. And also, setting alerts and thresholds for whether it's rain or wind speed, humidity, the temperature. Maybe you're welding and you need to stop welding when it gets too hot. All these things, you can customize those and also include automated email alerts when that weather is impacting the job sites. Absolutely huge. There's also visual dashboards that are really helpful, not just for weather conditions, but budgets, the status of budgets. Having a quick glance in the morning when you log in, seeing 3 jobs in red, boy, your attention's going to be brought there. And also, if budgets are within 10%, they also impact the dashboard. With some of the alerts we built into the system also to help you gain that visibility that you need is to also set thresholds of if budgets get within a certain predetermined percentage, that it will send out alerts also to the people that you want to see those alerts, such as project managers, superintendents, and so on. So you can keep an eye on things rather than staring at a screen and trying to manage data that way. These are some of your most highly and well-paid people in the company. You'd rather have them manage more by exception and the system looking for problems and letting them know rather than staring at a screen, basically. Now, documenting field events, obviously incredibly important, and ways to automate that are built in, and automation is the key here so that, again, people aren't staring at a screen and waiting for things to happen, or let them know through automated emails and different alerts of that sort. So this could be for groups, this could be for individuals, whatever it might be, such as if overtime's been hit, you want your payroll and your superintendents to know so they can pay attention to that. Maybe your most expensive guy should be left at home tomorrow because you have just general labor. So you can make those decisions. And of course, weather for project managers and superintendents. Budgets impacts most everyone, maybe not payroll, but most everyone. You also want to know, are workers at the job site when they're supposed to be and when they clock in? Or is it, if a foreman's tracking them, is he at the job site while he's doing this? Or is he driving down State Highway 121, 30 miles from the job site, clocking in a crew? Very important things to know, and we'll talk a little bit more about the GPS in just a moment. But also if field notes come in. We've seen many customers lately using field notes, since they do generate an email automatically, using it for things like PTO requests or letting the office know if a union member is going to be at the union hall doing journeyman training or whatever it might be. And then, of course, photos, as we talked about before, incredibly important to documenting and mitigating and managing your risk. So this is visibility that's happening as it happens, not after the fact, not yesterday's news, not ancient history, but as it happens. Incredibly important. Something that I love is having a daily log that pulls all of this information together and gives you a snapshot of what happened on every job site every day, and right there at your fingertips. It can be automatically generated to run and land in your box, showing for that location for that day. I've got this one running against the Boeing East Tower job, so I got my employee hours here and all the different tasks that they worked on, their total time. Also, if they pushed into overtime or double time, that would show up. Of course, my weather information all throughout the day. I've got that pinpointed as many times throughout the day as I wish. Also, any field notes that came in, maybe what subcontractors were on site that day, whatever it might be. And then, of course, the photos, incredibly important. Like this one here, just a jumbled mess. And hey, like it says, not our work. We walked in and this is what we saw. Here's the picture. We'll take another one when it's done. Maybe asset usage also, with any notes and the hours used, the employees that used it, what asset it was, and of course, the hours that we're going to be tracking on it. And all this can be done very, very simply, very, very quickly. It all gets gathered organically in the background. And the start of it just by clocking in, which takes 5 seconds or less. Even if a crew leader is clocking in 50 people at one time, it still takes them about 5 seconds. If an individual employee is clocking in themselves, about 3 to 4 seconds. But a very, very quick and simple process that gives you a huge return on the back end. Of course, it's a cultural shift. It's a change in the way people are doing things. But at AboutTime alone, we're, I guess, about 1,300 different construction companies using it. If they can do it, one's in anywhere from Lawton, Oklahoma to Atlanta, Georgia to Simi Valley, California, up into Canada and Mexico and everything in between, then you guys can do it too. Now, another very, very, I don't know, it's just a great way to minimize your risk is through documenting things, instances, change orders, subs on site, work performed through forms. Now, most companies that come to us and that we've helped and our current customers have forms that they're filling out. Like I said, change orders. Maybe it'll be a ticket, a service order, whatever it might be, material requisition form, accident report. And it's all on paper. And to go back and find that in the filing cabinet or in a box 3 years down the road when you have some litigation that you're facing can be very, very cumbersome. If it's at your fingertips, and also you can see it as it's coming in real time and making decisions based off of these forms, you're greatly reducing your risk. So to be able to do this on the same device in the same program where time's being collected, where job site photos are being collected, where budgets are being viewed, where reports are being viewed, is huge, basically. So this will eliminate paper forms altogether. So this is a perfect example, a typical form we got from a customer as we were introducing Forms Express and we were looking for feedback and whatnot. This customer is now using Forms Express along with the rest of their AboutTime system. But you can see here, it was all handwritten. At the top, they had the day of week. They wrote in Monday by hand, wrote in the date. Weather data never got filled out. Luckily, AboutTime's pulling and storing that anyway. But they would fill out all the information, including equipment and small tools that was used, materials used, what the quantity was, what was from stock, what did they charge, notes, safety questions, things of this nature. And they were faxing these in, sometimes hand carrying them in, and someone in the office or a group of people were typing these up, sending them to the customer. It was an incredibly difficult process that took a long time, and then they had to store them, and that was equally as tough. So building it through Forms Express, very quick and simple to build a template for them to fill out in the field. Automatically, the person who filled it out is captured and defaulted. The job is already there. The task and an asset can also be logged so that we can find this in all the places back in the office. If there is an issue on that job, everything's filed there properly. Everything's filed in that employee's file as well. But day of week, maybe we would just give them a drop-down of the day of the week they could pick. Date would be automatically populated. Maybe give them open fields to go ahead and fill in information. But forms can include a question and answer, basically, where you don't have to fill out a form. You just answer questions that will populate the form in the background. And those answers that could be given could be everything from a yes or no value, true or false, a drop-down list of materials or subcontractors that might have been on site. Maybe the next question is how many men were on site. Give a general description of the work they performed, things of this nature. Maybe it's a list of materials. How many did you use? Was it from stock? What did you charge? A place for notes. There can also be photos that are embedded before and after, things of that nature. This is a pretty good example of one that I built through Forms Express, synced it over to my iPhone, and then filled it out myself with my voice, and everything converts to text for me. But you can see I took pictures of the work and a description of the shower door in the master bathroom. Everything perfectly documented. So a change, they asked for a change order. Even though we agreed just to change the bathroom, the shower door, well, they wanted us to replace a mirror and fix a piece of glass in their curio cabinet. So I got all this work agreed for. I got it signed off. I got the amount that was charged. I even got the GPS coordinates of where the form was filled out and signed. So imagine that, being able to do that with your change orders. You can even have the owner agree with his voice to what's being asked of him or asked of your company. to perform. Everything perfectly and well documented. And you have it that same day in the office, in your hands, in your project manager's hands. You just can't beat it. Another aspect is auto-generated reports to help you get the data you need as quickly as possible. So we can auto-generate these reports. They could be daily, they could be weekly, they could be every other day. You schedule them when you want them to go. They could even go to a customer. So maybe you want that daily report that we saw with the job site photos, with all the hours worked, with the weather information, the asset usage, the notes. Maybe you want that to auto-generate and send to your customer, to the GC maybe, whoever it is. Those can be scheduled and run as often as you want. So again, daily log reports, the field notes coming in, including employee time cards going out to supervisors or whoever it might be, the employee feedback, labor hour reports, asset usage, location time cards, location weather, about 30 different canned reports, including everything from labor to photos to asset usage and everything in between. Now the GPS, I had mentioned that earlier, a very important aspect, and we heard a really interesting story in one of our meetings I guess it was last Monday, where a customer had told a story about to our president when he was at a gathering of different customers and a kind of a user group roundtable, and one of the owners who uses our system told the story about one of his workers who was in one of their own in a company-owned vehicle, and they were accused of a hit and run on one side of town. And you know, they gave a description of the truck, and it had their logo and this and that, and all this information. He was the only guy in that city, so the focus was on him. Well, they were able to go back and look at his time records as well as the GPS coordinates of everywhere he clocked in. And at the time of the accident, about 5 minutes prior, he was completely on the other side of town and clocked into a job. There was the GPS verification of where he was, the date and time stamp, the customer that he clocked into or the job he clocked into and the task. And there was no way on earth that it could have been him, which maybe eventually they would have found that it wasn't him. But what would that have cost the company to prove that? And then now eyes are on this guy, negative eyes, thinking he's lying, and or there's a chance that he's lying, and he claiming he was on the other side of town, but he hit this person. Well, they were able to find out in a couple minutes. Again, mitigating their risk. So this will verify the employee's location upon transaction. This could be a crew leader clocking in for a crew, or individuals clocking in on a foreman's device, or maybe there's service people on their own device. So it just taps into the internal GPS on the handheld devices and will verify that location, and based around the GPS perimeter or the geofence that's been automatically applied around that job site when it comes in from the host system. And what's nice about it also is there's no monthly subscription fees because we're just tapping into that internal GPS on the device, and it includes alerts and reports in the system that'll automatically let you know when there's a discrepancy, when that has occurred. And then also it works in disconnect mode. There's other products that you can look at out there. This wasn't meant to just be a commercial for AboutTime, but an important aspect if you're looking at different mobile resource management systems is to find out if that system truly works in disconnect mode, whether it has a Wi-Fi connection, data plan connection, or an air card in a laptop, or whatever type of connectivity, cell connectivity. Will it work if there's no connection? And that's really important. So, and also, does it grab the GPS coordinates whether or not it's connected? We go right to the satellite, so it's going to get the GPS coordinates whether there's a connection or not, as long as the satellite's visible, of course. So again, just helping to minimize that risk, seeing exactly where the job site is, where the employee was in relation to the job site when they clocked in or clocked out, exactly how far away, and then automating it with reports for discrepancies and alerts when that data hits the office and a discrepancy has occurred. So I wanted to just show a quick moment here of the process of how easy it is for this clocking in and some of the data that you might see on the mobile devices. So here's my iPad that's on my desk. I'm going to tap the AboutTime icon down here in the bottom and bring up the app. So you can see it's modeled after an ATM. I'm going to put in my foreman's PIN code. And right away, maybe it's the morning. I want to see how we did yesterday on our budget. So I'm going to go into the Location Manager. I'm going to choose the Task Budget screen. And I'm going to be able to see, here's all my cost codes on this project. It's been narrowed down right out of the Sage product based on what cost codes the project manager, whoever it might have been who set up the job, said will be applied to this particular project. So we're not seeing cost codes that are not associated with this project, but we see all the original budgeted amounts that the estimator said it should take, the time that's accrued from yesterday and from the beginning of the project, our over and our under, and our percentage of completion across each cost code. And then I'll select the middle if you're doing production units, maybe cubic yards, linear feet, tonnage, whatever it is, squares you're tearing off, whatever it is. I can see all the original budgeted amounts, what's accrued, again, our over and under, and percentage of completion. And then finally, the summary that'll tell me what we're completing per hour, our percentage of completion again, and the total budgeted, total accrued, total remaining, and total percentage of completion. So instead of trying to generate a report to send out to this guy, or maybe it's a week or two later, it doesn't really matter. He sees it. If he thinks that day, he'll see it that day. Otherwise, the next morning when he goes to log in, he can see exactly where he's at, where do we need to kick butt today, and just gives him all that information right at his fingertips. And right there are the job site photos. I can just tap on that. It opens up the camera. I can snap the photo. It's going to date and time stamp it and automatically apply it to this project up here, the LAX Radisson parking structure. And then I can put any description in also. So very simple to do. I can also report on my assets right from the screen as well. I'll see everything that's assigned to my particular project. I can put in its usage, its meter readings, any notes, say what employee used it if I want, a cost code it was used on, all again right there at my fingertips. And to clock an employee or a group of employees in and out, again, extremely simple. Just go to clock in or out. All my guys are going to appear at the top, already checked off, ready to go, although I can choose from other guys if they show up on my job site to clock in, or maybe someone wasn't here. I can deselect them. But with defaults, it makes it very quick to within a few seconds go ahead and clock all those guys in and have them off to work. So again, simple, fast, greatly increases employee adoption rates, and gets you the data in the office that you need in a timely fashion. There's a lot more to the mobile app and our app on Windows devices, but for the sake of time, I'm going to keep on rolling on here. Other ways to authenticate employees, very important in the risk factor here, is through biometrics or card swipe or barcode scan. And this could be done in the Windows environment or of course, a PIN code entry, but on Windows tablets, notebooks, netbooks, toughbooks, desktops, laptops, and everything in between. But to verify the employee, it's a very quick process. They touch their finger on the reader. It actually doesn't read their fingerprint. It reads right through to the second layer of epidermis, reads the vein structure. So it's great for those hard to read or dirty fingerprints. And if the FBI is using it, hey, we can use it. But there's thousands and thousands of employees clocking in every day through AboutTime with biometrics right out in the field. And that could be in heavy highway. We have them roofing contractors using it, and gosh, drywallers, everything in between. But so wrapping all this together, between getting forms filled out, change orders, and safety inspection lists, and accident reports, daily logs, grabbing employee time, whether it's through real time or a simple timesheet that could be filled out each day, getting asset usage, weather data, real-time dashboards on budgets, really helps connect everything together, and not 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now, right now, today, which will give you a windshield and not a rear-view mirror. Again, it doesn't do you any good to see this big pillar of smoke in your rear-view mirror that you cannot do anything about, and that's what you need. So device freedom also. For our product in particular, we run on almost any Android device, whether it's a tablet or a phone, all versions of the iPhone, the iPod Touch, all versions of the iPad and the iPad Mini, most versions of BlackBerry, and most Windows devices as well. So through this, through business intelligence management, get your reports. They're available the same day. They can be scheduled to automatically generate and run to give you the data that you need, as well as that historical data that's going to be permanently stored there, along with your photos, your notes, daily logs, budgets, everything all together in one place. Budgets, as soon as that data hits the office, they're accrued immediately and can kick back out to the field, and also included in the alerts and notifications module to let you know when budgets are within a predetermined percentage or overtime has been reached. Photos, field notes, GPS discrepancies, weather, whatever these different things are, receive alerts rather than looking for problems. Many of our customers will have, their office in Dallas, but they're doing work in Tulsa, they're doing work in Houston, they're doing work in Baton Rouge, and they're doing work in El Paso, and so on and so forth. And the weather is great in Dallas today, but do I need to send this crew up to Tulsa when it's pouring rain there and we can't do any work? Well, you can go to weather.com, or you can go to the news report or the Weather Channel, or you can receive alerts when these things are happening. So just the power of that information and having it in real time is, you just can't beat it. Reporting, including employee time cards, the location time card run against each job. AboutTime also supports third-party reports. So if you have custom reports that Alliance has created for you, or that you're running through Access or Excel or Crystal, you can have access to those in many cases through AboutTime also. So you don't have to export the data out, but we can generate it through the data that's collected in AboutTime and run it through that reporting engine. So still the reports you have, you should be able to keep all those, but also have additional reports that are built through AboutTime that again give you that incredible visibility that you require. Even the weather reports. So doing all this, you can't manage risk if you don't document it and measure it, and that's what we're really looking to do here. It used to be when companies would come to us many years ago, they were looking for the worker that was cheating them, or I know my guys are cheating me out of 45 minutes a day or so, and they're taking long lunches and whatnot. And you will still do that for you, but now what we hear is, I've got all this risk. I just was talking to a customer yesterday in California and presented the product to them, and they're a roofing contractor, and that's their number one problem, is they're in such a risky business. It's so high, and plus they're in California where the compliance is through the roof, and they don't have a way to document things properly and have employees actually have start and stop times, which are required here and in many other states. And you know how things start in California, all the nutty things start here, and then they slowly move their way across the country until everyone has the same compliance that we have and the same ways to document and track things that are so hard to do, but now it is possible to do that and document these things. So at this point, I'll throw the reins back over to Alliance, and I thank you for your time. If there are questions, we can go ahead and tackle those now, but I'm going to go ahead and mute myself until further directed. Thank you so much for your time today.